Hi everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I read in June. I feel like I'm finally starting to catch up on these recent reads videos at last, but then I'm going to be making y'all sick of recent reads videos because I was so behind on filming them that I didn't have them to post. So every week you're just going to be seeing a bunch of recent reads and it will just have to be what it is. It'll just have to be what it is. So the first book I'm going to be talking about is Volume 1 of Boys Run the Riot by Keito Gaku. This is essentially a story where we follow this closeted transgender boy who starts this friendship with a new boy at school, and they decide to start a fashion brand together. And so essentially so far it's about the budding friendship between the two of them, and I think they're basically going to start collecting friends along the way. So I rated this 3.5 stars. As the first volume in a manga series, I enjoyed it. It was solid. It was good. It wasn't an instant new favorite, but usually I actually prefer to read 2 volumes of a manga relatively back to back in order to get a good sense of the series and whether I enjoy it or not. But I was literally on hold, on order for this first volume. So I wasn't going to get the second volume for a while. And I was just like, I really, really want to read this because it has a transgender main character, which I had not fucking seen in a manga at all. So I was like, I really, really want to try that, even though I don't have my usual at least 2 volumes to really get a feel for the series. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading more volumes. I thought this was an excellent introduction to the characters. I really want to see where the story goes. I'm already rooting for like the little romance going on. I'm like, please give it to me. I need it. It will bring me joy. But yeah, for the moment, I don't have much else to say about this because as the starter of a series, I don't usually have much to say. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to reading more. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Volume 1 of Say I Love You by Kanae Hasuki. So in this manga, we follow this teenage girl who doesn't have friends, has never had a boyfriend, and suddenly one of the popular boys at school gains an interest in her, and she starts making friendships in a way because of the attention she's getting from the popular boy. So I rated this 3 stars. This is a little bit of an older manga and it definitely read that way. I was kind of nervous going into it, and honestly, I don't think I will be continuing it because I had Volume 1 and Volume 2, and I know I talked on this channel that I wanted to give both of those a try, and that's usually, like I just said, with Boys Run the Riot, that's usually what I try to do to really get a sense of it. But the more distance I got between reading the first volume and picking up the second one, the more I was like, I'm kind of not interested really in continuing with this series. So it wasn't terrible. It just had things that didn't surprise me but that I did not enjoy. Like, for example, there was this character who was like really obsessed with boobs, and like there's this like girl at the school who has big boobs and he's like obsessed with her because of her big boobs. It was a thing that I was not particularly into, but I did basically like what was established. I think it's probably going to be a very nice, cute story with nice messages. I just wasn't really into the art style because, again, it's an older art style and I'm very picky about art styles in what I read when it's obviously like some graphic novels, manga, comics. I'm very particular about that, so I wasn't really inclined to read in part because of that. So yeah, like I liked that our main character stood up for herself, that she wasn't always just letting people walk all over her, but it just wasn't compelling enough to make me want to continue the series. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Hola Papi, How to Come Out in a Walmart Parking Lot and Other Life Lessons by John Paul Brammer. This is a nonfiction memoir book all about John Paul Brammer's experiences being Latinx, being gay, and trying to navigate that. So I rated this 3.5 stars. I don't usually rate memoirs or nonfiction lower than 5 stars, but this one it just felt right to give it that rating. I don't know why, but it felt right, and so I went with it. Basically, I really liked listening to the audiobook of this. It's narrated by the author, and I just found his voice soothing. Like, honestly, I could listen to this man's podcast. Like, if he had a podcast, I don't actually know. I haven't searched for it. I think I thought about Googling it or something, but I haven't actually looked at whether or not he has a podcast. So I could listen to him forever, because it honestly felt like I was having a conversation with him. It felt very conversational, and so I was very in the moment whenever I was listening to the audiobook, because I just felt like I was chatting with the guy. But that's also kind of what made it so my memory of this book just got shot into the abyss. Like, you know how you don't remember every single part of a conversation you have with someone? Like, it can be a meaningful, good conversation, but you remember more the feeling you had while you were having the conversation versus all the intricacies of the conversation. That's what happened with the audiobook of this book. I really was into it, but I struggled to retain the details. But what I appreciated is that the author really goes into his experiences with suicide attempts and suicide ideation. It was a lot. Like, it was very, very emotional, that element for me. I was like, wow, because he talked about it almost casually, but at the same time, you could tell how hard it was to live through that for him. So, wow. He also talks about processing a sexual assault experience he had, which was also so heart-wrenching to read. And he also talks about belonging and his sense of not feeling quite Latinx enough, because he grew up within the context of a family who was very much trying to assimilate. He grew up with a family who chose assimilation over raising him with what he saw as like the staples of his culture, you know? And so he talks about his experience trying to see beyond how there's not one Latinx experience, that just because he doesn't share from the start the cultural knowledge that he thought he should have, it doesn't mean that actually his experience is different from a lot of many other Latinx individuals. So yeah, I thought this was a solid memoir. I would highly recommend it. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that book. The next books I'm going to be talking about are volume 4 and 5 of The Way of the House Husband by Kosuke Onu. As I have explained before on this channel, because now this is like my third, fourth or so video talking about the series. In this series, we follow this man who was a part of the Yakuza, but he decides to leave the Yakuza and dedicate his life to being a house husband. He marries this woman and he just wants to take care of her, make sure the house is clean, make sure she's well fed, and just live his best house husband life. But his past keeps slowly trying to inch into his new life, and he's just trying to navigate that. So I rated volume 4 4 stars. This was such a precious volume. Like, it was literally so fucking cute. It was adorable. I loved it. The whole bubble tea moment, loved it. Iconic, incredible, such chaotic energy. The whole scene where Miku literally carries Tatsu, what a moment. What a moment. Living the dream, truly. This volume was just such a delight. I cannot even believe it. It was it was just everything. It was everything. As for volume 5, I rated it 3.5 stars. It wasn't my favorite. Like, honestly, from the volume so far, this would be my least favorite. I just think it was a little bit more, it actually kind of felt filler. Like, the whole series is just snapshots into Tatsu's life, but it still felt a little bit less thought out, less thoughtful. It basically felt like less thoughtful looks into his life. But I still enjoyed that I got to see my beautiful ex-Yakuza wife. She's beautiful, she's iconic, she's great. I love her. So I'm happy about that. And I also liked that we had a moment of Tatsu being sick and being so chaotic about it. He was so dramatic about getting sick. I loved it. It was great. It was a dime. It was a moment. It was delightful. Honestly, just delightful. So, has this volume turned me away from this series? Absolutely not. I don't think anything quite can. Like, I think the series will have to tank significantly for me to give it up, because even when I don't adore the volume, there's still enough cuteness to make up for it. There's still enough that leaves me like, oh, this was nice. I enjoyed this. So of course I will continue on my journey with The Way of the House Husband. Anyway, so that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, I will have the links to that down below in the description. But for now, see you next time.